Welcome back to Hyperdrive Beyond the Summit podcast. This podcast series came about as a way to keep women entrepreneurs and leaders connected and showcased between our Hyperdrive summits. For those of you who don't know, the Hyperdrive Women in Business Summit started back in 2022, and it was really our way to support and invigorate our female entrepreneurs and leaders in our communities. Community Futures Grande Prairie region and our regional CF partners with West Yellowhead, Capital Region, Lesser Slave Lake region plan out a 2.5-day event that combines speakers and subject matter experts with powerful networking, all in a retreat setting in Jasper. We just hosted 90 women in our third event, March 13th to 15th, 2025, and we are excited to see where things go next. I'm Holly Sorgen, Executive Director of Grande Prairie, Community Futures Grande Prairie region. I'm so excited to be your host today. Today, it's my pleasure to welcome three of our friends from Grande Prairie Regional Tourism Association. For those of you who don't know, GPRTA is the visible voice of the industry and ambassador of tourism for the Grande Prairie region. It's nonprofit, it's a marketing organization funded by partnership fees, memberships, marketing programs, funding initiatives, all of that sort of stuff. GPRTA is the voice of tourism for our region. I'm thrilled today to have Kim and Paulette and Sandy joining us, and I'll have them introduce themselves shortly. I just was hoping that each of you will just maybe start with Paulette and come over. I'll have you introduce yourself, tell me the role that you play, the organization that you're with, and maybe any role that you have with tourism and the organization.
Well, my name's Paulette Butler, and I'm the general manager of the Sandman Hotel, Grande Prairie. And I have been involved in the Tourism Association for many years. I'm currently the vice president of the association. And I'm also on the DMF board, so the Destination Marketing Fund board, which supports and helps market the region.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Kim.
So I'm Kim Randall. I'm the general manager of Evergreen Park. Evergreen Park is an ag society, but we also have a very large trade show facility and lots of tourism-related activities that happen there. I'm on the Grande Prairie Regional Tourism Association board, and that's because I'm the chair of the DMF and on the committee with Paulette.
Very cool. Yeah, see, we all know if you want something done, you go to busy people to get it done. And how about you, Sandy?
Thanks, Holly. My name is Sandy Neville. I am the general manager of the Delta Grande Prairie, as well as the Grand Inn and Residence, which is in the same parking lot. They're sister hotels. My role in Grande Prairie Regional Tourism has been, for about the last 8 years. I was previously the president for 4 years, and now I've stepped into the role of past president.
Awesome. Very cool. It seems like everybody has long histories kind of with the organization and in the community, or at least ties as well, which makes so much more sense that you're involved in tourism for sure. So I'm going to start with you, Kim. How did you find yourself in your role in tourism and hospitality? I don't know. Lots of people get into the field differently. So tell us about your story.
So I was almost born into it. My mom and dad bought a resort in central Alberta when I was 11. And so was basically involved in tourism since that point. From there, I worked in small hotels in rural Alberta for a while. And then an important part in my life, I went back to school for hotel management.
Wow.
And that put me on a wholly different path. I interned at CP Fairmont Hotels in the mountain properties and worked for Fairmont Hotels for 13 years. Around the province, ending up at the Palliser Hotel in Calgary. And then from there, I went to another world-class facility, Spruce Meadows, and I was the manager of the exhibit programs there. So another part of the tourism industry with the show jumping. From there, I went back to the hotel industry. So I was at the Best Western by the airport, Best Western Village Park Inn in Calgary. And then I went to the Best Western Premier Freeport Inn and Suites at the airport in Calgary and was basically in the hotel industry for, over 30 years
you started
in that
when you were
time.
Like 6.
Pretty much, yeah. Another little fun fact, in the middle of there, when I was still working at the Palliser Hotel, My husband at the time and I worked at the Bayou Ranch National Historic Site and ran the restaurant there.
Oh, wow.
So
Again,
if you're not busy enough, you buy a
There's a
business
theme
in the
here.
business. And then I was fortunate enough to take on the role at Evergreen Park just in the last 3 years, and it ties everything in my background together, and I'm really excited to be here in Grande Prairie.
I'm always just so excited to hear about how people get into what they're getting into, right? So I came into economic development. There was no kind of in college, I knew I was going to be an economic developer. It was kind of like it becomes you and you become it. And then you just find all these crazy opportunities and say yes.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
So true.
How about you, Paulette? How did you get into the industry?
Well, I basically grew up in the industry as well.
Another theme.
My mother was one of the first women to ever work for Imperial Oil, running the Voyager restaurants.
Wow.
So we started in restaurants and went straight into motels and inns, along with many restaurants throughout the years. And I've been with Sandman 16 years now. I actually opened the property here 25 years ago.
So yeah, very cool.
Yeah, so I don't have as extensive with all different brands, but mostly my parents' brands and what they
Absolutely.
managed, and then Sandman for the last 16 years.
Excellent. And I think that's what we need in our industries as well, is that kind of stability as well. And I'm never going to say staying somewhere is a good thing. I've been with Community Futures for 28 years, so I still got good ideas.
Yeah, you got to keep it alive and think out of the box.
Right? That's the key for sure. How about you, Sandy?
Mine's a little different.
Love
I
it.
kind of lucked into it. Moving from the East Coast, I had a background in banking. So when I first moved here, I worked in the banks for 5 years.
Oh, wow.
Was lucky enough to take some time off and go on mat leave and have my 2 boys. And then I decided, when in Rome, I'm in Alberta, I'm going to join the oil patch.
Oh,
so I actually spent 21 years in the oil patch
Very
before I went
cool.
into hospitality. And my last winter was my last winter. That's what I decided. My office was my truck. It was too much. I did not like it. I was doing sales. So I moved over into the hotels as a sales role.
Oh, that just makes sense.
Yeah, so I worked for a couple different hotels. Started at 4 Points by Sheridan, which was another Marriott property, and then I actually joined A&M, which is who owns the Delta, locally owned family here in town that owns them. Had the experience of opening the hotel, so that was quite interesting to get all that experience, and it's just been
Wow.
learning, starting from sales to I knew I wanted to be a GM at some point.
Very
so I was
nice.
lucky enough to hit that milestone, and
Very cool.
never a dull day.
Right? And in tourism, economic development, anytime you're dealing with humans, like I think there's just you have kind of your standard operating everything, and then it's like, oh, by the way, do you have 5 minutes? Stuff like that, right? So that's really interesting. I mean, I love doing this podcast because I get to hear about some backstory. You always you meet people at a certain part of their lives in your career, and you're kind of like, oh, that's who they are. But there's so much more meat behind that, which is really, really cool. So I'm going to change gears just a little bit, because obviously we've seen from each of you that you can kind of get into the tourism and hospitality industry in a lot of different ways. From your perspectives, what advice would you give to a young woman or a young girl that's considering hospitality as a career path?
Learn everything you can,
Right?
and you never know. And it's the same. I tell my boys the same thing. If somebody says a course, a class, a conference, always do it. If you are, and I don't mean this in any bad way. If you start as just a housekeeper or a host person, there is always growth.
Awesome.
You can grow, you can move if you love it and enjoy it. If I knew this career existed 30 years ago when I was still young and no children,
Right,
I
bushy-tailed.
think I think I probably would have traveled the world,
Right?
because
That's what you can do.
that's what
in
you
the
can
hospitality
do.
industry. That's
you can
really
do
cool.
it. So
There's still time.
There is still time, absolutely. Now we're on an upward trajectory. I'm going to go with. So I'm going to go back to that. And you said like learn as much as you can, conferences, that sort of stuff. Tell me a little bit about what was one of the best training opportunities you ever took part in, or a conference or something that was just like, that was amazing.
it would be for me specifically. Last October, I went to Toronto, and it was a Marriott convention. So my head office is mostly Americans, but they do tend to come to Canada a little bit.
Nice.
Not enough in Alberta, I will say that. You're sitting in a room of 60 people. This one was specifically just for Delta hotels.
Cool.
So you're sitting in a room with 60 people that have the exact same problems. Like Paulette and I, out of here, are very good friends. We both have the same role.
And you can
we
talk
work for
to each
different
other.
properties, but we bounce a lot of things off each other.
Awesome.
But this was people that know exactly, like on my brand
Your
standard
systems.
office, I have to
Yeah.
have this pillow, and where do you
So
find this
true.
pillow? So it was 3 days of not knowing, because it was kind of my first bigger one like this. I had no idea what to expect, and my mind was blown by
the
like day two.
ahas. Big
So,
light bulbs,
yeah.
which is the best thing.
Yeah, it was amazing.
And then all the really good work that happens after the conference when you're like, solving the world's problems.
Came back
One
with
copy.
100 pictures, and I want
Always.
this.
I
want
love
this.
it. And now you have validation
Yes.
from all your colleagues.
Exactly.
That's fantastic. How about you, Paulette?
Well, for me, it would be any Sandman conference that we go to, because they always revitalize us.
Yeah.
Again, as Sandy mentioned, when you're in a room full of people that share the same challenges you have, follow the same policies and procedures, it's just nice to be able to talk to them and really relate.
Yeah.
And I always come back from these conferences like just ready to take on the world.
I think we found that even with Hyperdrive this year, that a lot of women that we talked to were just like, I have stuff I got to get done. And we started there. And I think a lot of times what I'm hearing from both of you is that work starts kind of when you're at conference and you're already kind of going, okay, what solutions work? What are best practices? How can I start with that? Getting pictures, all of that sort of stuff. And the learning is continuous. And I feel tourism particularly, you can't really, there's no room to just kind of rest or be stagnant.
No, there sure is not.
Wow. Okay. What would you give advice? What advice would you give to a young lady looking to get into hospitality?
Well, I would always say, do your due diligence and check out the company before you join any company. Make sure they believe in promoting from within, and be a force of nature.
Love it.
Believe in yourself and give it 150%, because people recognize that and you do grow.
That's pretty cool. And I mean, I think that that's one of the beauties when I look at like the tourism industry, hospitality in general, is you can really grow with that hard work and the growth that you have personally. It's not always about new certificates and more education. It's really about how do you apply it.
Exactly.
That's awesome. Very cool. How about you, Kim? Little bit different story. So what advice would you give to a young lady?
So when I was thinking about this, I was thinking about when I first started and the things that really, I think, make you, I'll say, better when you're in a business trying to compete in a hotel against a hotel scenario. Like when you're in the service industry, get a job in a service position, whether it doesn't matter what frontline position it is. And try to wow every single guest that you come into contact with. Yeah. And if you can take that desire to wow people in every position that you have, it'll create creativity. It'll spark others to want to find that path. And I think that's probably what I would suggest, that if you get a high off of making other people like happy, then you'll be so satisfied in our industry. Money is one thing, but when a guest tells you how amazing their stay was, how wonderful your staff treated them, there is nothing that makes you feel better than that.
Totally. And that experience, right?
Yeah,
it wasn't
the
a
whole
transaction.
right?
It was a relation.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the relationships.
That is what's golden, I think, about the work that you guys all do. Yes, there are transactions and there's people coming through doors, but it's like, how did they feel when they came through the door and when they left? Right. And that's really the difference between being successful and not, especially as managers, is then you become the mentors to those new people coming in and you personify it. You are the wow factor and you show them how to do that, which is really, really cool.
And I'll just add one other thing, because the two ladies really did touch on it. You need to be a jack of all trades.
Pretty much. A Jane of all trades.
Don't be afraid to go and learn how to fix a car or work with your dad or your mom and be a welder or whatever, because all of those maintenance skills will come in handy when you're in the hospitality industry. And then
I need to fix this thing, and it's only me.
The other thing is the accounting side of it.
Oh, yeah.
Always make sure that you take courses, learn the accounting side of any business, because without that, you're in trouble.
Yeah. And I think like at Community Futures, we work with a lot of small businesses, especially just coming into it. And so many people are like, well, I'm just going to hire out the bookkeeping. It's good. I don't need to know it. You need to know it. You need to know what it is that you're trying to manage. You need to know that ultimately you're still responsible for all that stuff. So if you miss something and they miss something, they're not to blame. You are, right? And I know that's really scary, but the nailing the numbers is so important.
Yeah. Ownership of your finances when you're running a business is so important. You have to know what you're spending, what's coming in, know how to read a profit and loss statement.
Yeah, it's always a little bit alarming, and not a judgment, because we all deal with it. But a lot of times I meet with new clients and I'm like, okay, so like, tell me a little bit about your cash flows. Let's look at your financial statements. And then you're kind of like, and they're like, so like my bank statements? No. My POS? And I'm like, no, but it would have both of those included. And then you okay, we have to back up a little bit and make sure, because nailing the numbers is the difference between being successful long-term and not, right? And sometimes the most stressful part, right? Where you're like, I don't really want to know, but I have to know.
You have to know.
So that you can be ready to change direction, right?
So you always have to know, and we don't own these hotels, but I
You
know
do, right?
I treat it as if it is
Totally.
my hotel. I look at those numbers every day, and they go up and they go down, but you need to be able to know exactly why they went down, exactly why they went up.
And what are we doing
and
to
what
do
are we
different?
doing
Yep.
to do.
Pride and ownership, 100%.
Yeah, no matter if you own it or
Exactly.
not,
Yeah.
you own this place at that moment. You're responsible for that experience, right? My dad, because working for a nonprofit, my dad goes, I think you're as close to owning a nonprofit as anyone I could know. And I'm like, yep, pretty much. It's in your blood. You can't help it. And then you have to take pride in that. And the only way to do that is to know what's happening. You're the beast. Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I know, even just as all of you are involved with Grande Prairie Regional Tourism, the DMF, what are some of the other ways that you're involved in regional tourism initiatives that might be either larger or bigger in scope?
I can take that
Give
one.
her.
Mainly because with Evergreen Park, we have a lot of different
Absolutely. Fun stuff.
fun stuff going on. Exactly. We have lots going on.
So much.
So we are involved with Open Farm Days. And through being involved with Open Farm Days and the Ag Associations.
That's in August, right?
That's in August,
Yep.
exactly. It's August 20th weekend, I think, right around there. We became involved with the agritourism movement in the region.
Nice.
And so we're very active in having cluster meetings at Evergreen Park, inviting other agritourism businesses to be a part of that, and working with Grande Prairie Regional Tourism Association
Nice job.
to grow that tourism avenue here in the region. And we're really excited about it. There's lots of opportunity.
It's astronomical. I was happy enough and had enough time to be able to attend, I think, the last session that they had out there with Province. And yeah, looking around the room, I'm like, we can tag out. You know, there's enough up and comers in the ag industry, and really looking at tourism and experience, and how can we keep people in this region? Keep people in this region. Give them something to do, right?
Exactly.
And really fun stuff involves food and animals and building and growing and artistry, and yeah, like it's so cool.
Two other things. We're really working with our Indigenous partners in the neighborhood. And we have the powwow is going to be held at Evergreen Park this year.
Oh, nice.
And then we have our own event, which is the, and I'm allowed to say this, Indian Relay Races.
That is what it's
because
called.
that is what it's called. Okay. And so we have an Indigenous celebration in June as well that is just amazing. And we're working on growing that as a regional feature, as well as we have a lot of pathways and parkways in our area that we're trying to develop to, my vision down the road is to have horseback riding
Love
where
that.
tourists can come and
So
do that
fun.
sort of
Yeah.
activity like they would do in Banff or
And in a
Kananaskis or
more
whatever.
safe space, at least, it's somewhat confined. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so just a couple of things.
Yeah. Now everybody knows we're all crazy busy. I had the opportunity, I think, to go out with you and the previous executive director out there and kind of tour the land. And I was like, who knew all of this space was there and how it can be used and that sort of stuff. That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, Evergreen Park is
Pretty
crazy.
cool. It's very unique. And probably we'd never get it now if we asked for it. So we're going to make it work.
And we're going to cherish it.
Yep, absolutely. Paulette.
Well, I would say like Kim and I are involved with the DMF, and we do a lot of sponsorships and supporting of events in the region to bring people into Grande Prairie in the region to have experiences while they're here.
Yeah.
So that's something that we're really involved in.
Yeah, because I think what I hear so often is like people are going through. Like, how do we stop them? How do we get them to stop? Not just for a couple hours, but a couple days would be ideal. And we can stay and see all the really cool stuff. Like, we're almost like the hidden gem sometimes, Absolutely.
Yeah, we sure are.
What about with the Sandman? Is there anything that you do kind of on a regional, larger basis that's part of an initiative or anything like that?
Well, I mean, we have different promotions and that to encourage people. Right now, of course, it's all about Canada.
Yes, very much.
So, we've got some fantastic promotions encouraging people to just tour Canada. We're a Canadian family-owned business,
Love it.
saturated all throughout Canada. And that's basically what our focus is right now, is just getting people to experience
The staycationers.
Canada.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think, the ooh shiny of getting on a plane and going somewhere outside the country. Yeah. We've got some ooh shinies in Canada we have to check out. And Grande Prairie is one of them. So that's pretty cool. How about you, Sandy? What are you involved in regionally and larger initiatives?
I'm kind of taking a step back from the regional,
Okay.
going into that past president role. And
Yay. Sometimes we're just like,
sometimes
and I'm tagging out.
it's
Tapping out.
been a while.
It
It's been a
has.
while. But through my years with Grande Prairie Regional Tourism, I've been very lucky enough to have done a lot of traveling, Indigenous tourism, Alberta. I've been able to, I think, about 3 or 4 years, go to Edmonton and take part in quite a few meetings. Up to Yellowknife, the Chamber of Commerce in Yellowknife, to take part in, and the same thing. We know that most of our guests are coming here for work. But
Very
what
often, right?
else?
Yeah.
I did that for the 20 years in the oil patch. I don't want to sit in a hotel. I want them to come and stay at the hotel, but
Absolutely.
I don't want to sit in the hotel all evening. What
Yeah.
can I do?
Yeah.
Where else can I go? And even just internally, we've partnered most locals, but some of our guests with the Silent Book Club. So the ladies meet downstairs in our extension, and it gets them out of their room for the night. So we're just, the oil field guys, we know they're here for 14 or 21 days. Go see our city. Come back. You want to come.
Yep.
We want them to come back here. We want them to stay here
as travelers,
tourists.
as potential residents.
Exactly.
right? So
Exactly.
This is their first exposure
Yep.
sometimes, right?
So-
That's awesome. Very cool. Kind of related to that, I guess, is what do you think are some of the biggest opportunities for tourism initiatives in this region? I mean, we've talked a little bit about agritourism. We've talked a little bit about the Canadian side of things. We've talked about experiences. What else do you see as opportunities?
Sports tourism is, something that is really out there and top of mind for most people.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's really visible, I think. Like when we think, sometimes we think, oh, it's the Alberta Winter Games or it's the Canada Games or it's the Olympics, but it can be other things and tournaments and that sort of stuff. And that's huge. Absolutely. For sure. What
The
else?
corporates leave Friday morning, and the sports teams come in on Friday
It's
afternoon.
nice and seamless. Yeah. I'm sure the turnover isn't quite so seamless in the back, but
Not as quiet.
that's not a bad thing, right?
Nope, it's
busy
absolutely
is
not.
good.
Yeah.
That's what we want to see. Absolutely.
I think Paulette had kind of touched on it there. This year, there's so much unknown right now
Yeah.
with our big election
So
and what's
much.
going on with our neighbors to the south, Canada is a place to see. When we go to Banff, it's beautiful. It's jammed packed. We have all that here. We have all that here.
You don't have to wait for the bus.
Exactly. You can park and walk. Yeah. We just need that word out.
Yeah.
We need that word out.
That's really the opportunity to
come here and
hey,
enjoy.
We're here. Yeah. And we have space and air, all the things. Yeah.
And the restaurants and the Costco's, and we're not a little town. We have everything.
Absolutely. If you have a favorite thing from your favorite retailer, it's likely it's here.
Exactly.
It's interesting. I've picked up a lot of people from our airport who come here for various reasons. And I remember having a representative come that was part of our funders and Western Economic Diversification at the time. And the individual kind of revealing to me that they'd not been north of Whitecourt. And I was just like, there's a whole world that's north of Whitecourt. No offense to Whitecourt, but it's a great stopping place, but you can also come here. And she was looking around, and it was for the Growing the North conference. And she's looking at the parking lot that was packed. And she's like, how do you get all these people to come this far? And I'm like, you have no idea. We do day trips to Edmonton. These individuals that are here, this is a much closer experience for them than, say, Edmonton. They've come from high level and come 5 hours, not 10. And she was it was hard for her to wrap her mind around it. And then every retailer that we had and all the different services. And she's like, yeah, like you're your own entity. Yeah, we're pretty self-sufficient. So how about you, Kim? What do you see as opportunities?
Well, I think we have a huge opportunity for regional conferences. I get lots of emails from Ottawa, Toronto, Niagara Falls, different locations that are showcasing their ability to host a regional conference. And our conference facility has the space to do a conference easily of 700 people with a trade show and everything else.
Right.
And so this would benefit all of our hotels in the region. It would bring people to Grande Prairie. We have this amazing airport. We already have the infrastructure there to bring in the larger conferences. And when we're looking at hosting a larger conference, a lot of times they want to do a golf day.
Yep.
They want to do an offsite.
The fun days.
We have this amazing dinosaur museum that they could do an offsite at. We could do offsites even at Evergreen Park, doing a rodeo or doing a relay race demonstration.
Archery
or horse racing demonstration, right?
Yeah.
So we have all of that ability to bring these people here and really showcase the North. And I think we have a huge opportunity to bring tourism that way.
And then they have that positive experience, and then they want to come back. They want to bring their families then, which is...
Yeah. And I think, as everybody knows, I'm from Calgary originally. So Calgary is the hub for everybody to fly into to go to Banff,
right.
Kananaskis, Jasper, whatever. I believe that Grande Prairie could be that hub for the south wilderness areas that we have.
Absolutely.
Or going into Tumbler Ridge in BC. Yep. We have some really unique areas around Grande Prairie that we need to build and showcase. And we seeing what we've done in Kananaskis, for example, we have that ability to do that here. And there's a real positive movement with the governments to at all levels to make that happen. And I see that happening in the near future.
That's
for sure.
Very cool. I mean, having been in the economic development industry for as long as I have, and also teaching some economic development classes, I remember, I started teaching, establishing the foundation's economic development back in 2008. And at that point, and most of you have been in the industry long enough to recognize, very often tourism wasn't being acknowledged as an economic development driver, as part of economic development. It was kind of this standalone. People were like, tourism isn't a thing. Well, Banff and Jasper, right? And we saw that being reflected in our marketing and things like that. And I know from a regional perspective, people would get frustrated. They're like, but we're beautiful here too, just maybe in a different way. We have mountains too, but maybe different, and that sort of stuff. And so this last 5 years particularly, I've really recognized to see those levels of government finally validating, first of all, the provincial government actually putting tourism as part of a department, which is beautiful. And then kind of walking that talk and really saying, hey, let's change the way that we do this. And that came, I think, from women like you who are literally saying, okay, our jobs would be easier if you helped us market ourselves, right? So that we can be walking that talk together and we're not at odds with each other. And that's for me, just that validation allows you guys to just do your work more seamlessly, and hopefully the money comes with it because we need resources.
Bring on the money.
Bring on the money, absolutely.
And I'll stick in there just one other thing: our wide open spaces.
Yes.
My brother-in-law, they live in San Francisco, so that's where I want to go visit. I want to go visit them.
Right.
They want to come north. They want to come north in the middle of winter because they want to see their northern lights.
Ooh, I get it.
You know,
From a hot
we
tub,
understand
maybe.
it.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
understand it, but it's
Yeah.
they
what
can't
is
see
our
that in
norm?
Silicon Valley.
Right? Yeah. It's kind of bright.
Yeah.
And it's funny how we look at things that we take it for granted every day, and other people are like, you have all this space. You have air. You have the Northern Lights, which we very much take for granted. Absolutely. So, and nothing that you've talked about really does require a lot of money. I mean, I will take the money, but it's really about initiative. And being able to work together and collaborate. And I've always been a big proponent saying, people have always asked, like, what is Grande Prairie's secret? What's that region's secret in being so successful? Because we're kind of successful in spite of ourselves or where we are. And I'm like, it's collaboration. Mm-hmm. It's because, number one, we have to. But number two, because we want to. And that's the difference, right? That's pretty cool. What advice would you give to someone who is interested in getting into a tourism business as an operator? It's a little bit different. Like, what's missing? How could they get going?
See you at Community Futures.
Yep. We can help with the business stuff for sure. Let's help you with the business plan. Let's help you do the research. Absolutely.
Do the research.
Yeah.
We have a lot of gems. We use the word hidden gems. We have a lot of gems in our area. I know there's a few gentlemen in Grand Cache. I have never seen artwork and beadwork like it in my life. They need the help to bring it to everybody else.
Right.
So
how do we get everybody to know?
How do we get
everybody to
everybody
go viral?
Yeah, exactly. How do we go viral? So do their homework, ask for help, take pride in what you have, and want to share it with the world.
Yeah.
Want to share it with the world.
That's huge. Yeah, because I think a lot of times what I find is sometimes we get protectionist a little bit. That can be at our own detriment.
Absolutely.
So, or we get perfectionist, which is worse because then we're like, well, we don't want to put it out there until it's perfect. Well, there is no such thing. It only gets better when you put it out there. Someone tells you how to be better.
I'm sorry, you're talking to three that have an issue with that.
Yeah, just a little.
Yeah.
It's the bare minimum is perfection, right? I get it. But how about you guys? What do you think?
So I think right now in the Grande Prairie region, it's a really tricky endeavor to get into the tourism industry because we haven't got that dedicated stream of tourists coming for tourism.
We know we can guarantee you something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at the, what's happening in Banff and Jasper, Lake Louise, we're going to do that here. I think it's really, really tricky.
Yep.
You need to have two jobs because one will be a part-time tourism job and the other one will be a full-time job that's going to pay the bills. So you have to, you have to look at it that way. And if we can get a few more people to look at it that way, start building those endeavors, those businesses,
kind of that side hustle,
exactly,
to start.
that support the tourism industry. It will grow.
Yeah.
I strongly believe that once we have those added features for people to enjoy, it's going to grow fast and it will be very successful.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, it's going to be really tricky for
baby
people.
Steps, right?
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people are reluctant, much like starting any new business, is like, how do I know? How can I guarantee it? I really like that advice about, testing that market while you still have stability. And it's a lot of the same advice that we give Community Futures clients in general is, get the plan in place. Don't plan yourself into paralysis because that can be a possibility, but plan it out well enough that the market is there and how those steps, the execution, right? I was challenged the other day by a board member asking if we give the advice to use AI for business development and stuff. And I said, well, you can't not, because we all know we're going to use ChatGPT to write the things. But ChatGPT can't tell us how we're going to execute. Not in this region. Like maybe it'll be like, this is what they did in San Francisco, but that's not Grande Prairie, right? And that's where the magic is how we execute those plans. And we do that on a small scale, and then it's not so scary. And then you can take advantage of the help that's out there as well. Yeah, for sure. How about you, Paulette? What are your thoughts?
Well, I would say the first thing they have to do is love people
Right.
and be able to work with all the challenges that come with people.
Sure.
You know,
Yep.
I think that's the most important thing because that's what tourism is.
Is
core.
serving people. Yeah, 100%.
You know.
And sometimes those people have pets and children. I put pets first. Oops. But same sort of thing. And how do we serve the whole person, right? I really like that perspective because sometimes you wonder coming into different places where you would consider them to be very visitor-centric and you're kind of like, do you even like people? And if anybody's asking, yeah, you should like them and you should like what you're selling, I think, as well. And that's a harder sell. Sometimes we're like, we do want to go to San Francisco. We want to go the shinies elsewhere, the big lights. And then it's like, oh, what we have is actually wanted by so many other people. Yeah. So liking people. Who knew? So I guess this kind of one of the final questions is more from your role as GPRTA representatives and DMF representatives as well. What kind of resources are available out there for tourism operators, either startups or looking to grow or change and evolve? What's out there to help?
So we've been very involved with Alberta tourism through the agritourism and just a variety of streams. And right now they have some serious desire to grow the region. And so I think if you have an idea, a solid business plan, and you start working with Alberta Tourism, they will help you to make that dream come true. I really believe that they'll help connect some dots, and there's some funding there as well.
Excellent. And I think that's kind of that key piece is so many entrepreneurs are like, okay, I have what's in my pocket. I have what I borrowed from mom and dad and the friends and all the things. What else can I do? What else can I leverage? And it's nice to know that there may be funds available for some of that business development, the opportunity around asset development, which I think is a really big focus of the province right now. And that's pretty cool. So,
And I think I would say the board, the GPRTA board, we're a bunch of volunteers. We enjoy it, or we wouldn't be back. We have,
right?
8, 10, 12-year tenures sort of thing. But it's a wealth of knowledge in individual roles from everybody. We now have our Jasmine, our brand new ED, a wealth of knowledge. So there's somebody in the office just to even talk to ask a question. If you don't know where to go, and they might not have the answer, but they would know somebody. They can, whether it's Travel Alberta or someone local or your local municipality, they can point you in a direction.
So that you're not that hamster on the wheel trying to find the things.
Exactly.
And hoping you find the right thing. And I remember what you said earlier about ask for help, seek out assistance. And that will expedite the process a little bit. And I think so often we kind of get stuck in the wheel. We kind of spin in our wheels. And sometimes we just need to say, hey, do you have some advice? Do you have a connection, something? And then you could start moving again. So
exactly.
You bet.
Well, those were both my answers as well.
They all great minds and
Your
all.
Regional Tourism Association and Tourism Alberta.
Yeah, that's so true. Where do you guys see tourism going? I know it's kind of a little off script, but where do you see it going in this region over the next, say, 5 years? What do you envision?
Growing.
Yeah, I don't think we have any other option.
No, we have to grow. Again, with the uncertainty of what's going to happen, like I said before, I think this is the time that we can focus on what's in our backyard. I find that, I don't want to say that ugly C word of COVID.
I was thinking the same thing. It started.
I found more places. I've been here for 30 years, but I've found more little places.
Right. Me too.
There's a blacksmith in Sexsmith. Like there's cactus in Cluskin Hills. Like we found other stuff. So now let's stay local. Let's
Let's leverage that.
You know,
right?
go to the falls.
Yeah, I was actually
to,
just
you know,
thinking all the different
yeah.
little waterfalls that
Yeah.
I found in like 2021, 22
That
were
time.
things that we probably wouldn't have at that time. Yeah, the unspoken time
Yeah.
and the lost years. But there was a lot of experience, I think, that happened then because we didn't have a choice. And now we have a choice and we're continuing to do that, which is really cool. Absolutely. What do you guys, what do you envision for tourism in this area?
Well, I think that it comes back to Alberta Tourism wanting to grow tourism in the province by, I don't know, almost double what it is. And
That's
so
aggressive. That's
that
great.
desire from them will open up a lot of positive opportunities for entrepreneurs.
It's inevitable.
They've changed the rules about how we're using some of the land in the region between Grand Cache and here. So that'll open up
That's
opportunities for maybe a golf course and a resort like Kananaskis in that region. I don't know if it's going to happen or not, but when the government has a desire to do something,
Absolutely.
it opens up that opportunity. And without that desire, there's a lot of roads, bridges that are put up and roadblocks. So I think that's going to really help that speed of the growth
Agreed.
of tourism in the region. I also think that, again, having a great executive director at the Grande Prairie Regional Tourism Association who understands the value of working with many different partners, showcasing what we have available and showcasing it in a way that it does attract people in Alberta to our region.
Absolutely.
I lived in Calgary and I came up here to see my sister and fell in love with the area up here.
When you get here.
All we have to do is get them to cross
Get
that.
here. Just get
That what is it? I don't even know what parallel we need.
It feels
you know what?
sometimes
Maybe
insurmountable.
maybe
but
that's one of our marketing plans is come cross the barrier, right?
the Great Barrier. But usually the excuse is the sun's in my eyes when I'm traveling. And they're like, that doesn't, no.
I know.
That's not a
The
good
road
excuse.
goes two
It
ways.
really
does
does,
go
and it's
ways.
faster this way. No, I'm just kidding.
And once you get here, you don't want to leave.
Well, you know, how many people do you know or yourselves who came
myself.
here on the 3-year plan?
3-year plan. I said 3, maybe 5.
30
30 years ago.
I've been here the entire time, but that's not the norm, right? And I think, when you visit here, a lot of times you do fall in love and kind of go, oh, there's a people there that I can connect with. There's my tribe, right? Which is really cool. So how about you, Paulette?
Well, for me, the most exciting thing is our new ED with the GPRTA. The Regional Tourism Association has such a bright future with her. She's just full of fresh new ideas. She's looking outside the box.
Yay.
Yeah, she's going to be really a great asset for us.
Yeah, I've had the opportunity to have some really great conversations with Jasmine and really initially actually even supported some of the things in the region with some visitors that were coming up here. And I even think about how community futures and tourism could be much more linked in terms of how we support your operators and vice versa, all that kind of stuff as well. And I think that just does speak to that re-energized vision, which is really cool for GPRTA because, again, there's all these opportunities. It's almost overwhelming, but at the end of the day, it's taking one step. And if you have someone who can take that step for you alongside you, certainly helps to demystify it a little bit. And she has good support, obviously, within the ladies that are here. So, is there anything final that you'd like to say to our audience? Any words of wisdom or anything like that?
Come watch the horse racing in the summer.
Absolutely.
July 7th, isn't it?
I forgot to mention that. You know, all summer long we have
There you go.
live horse racing out at Evergreen
That's
Park, and
exhilarating.
what a great tourism attraction for the region as well.
Very
But
true. Don't you have a wiener dog race too?
we do. we have
I might know
And
what I'm
dinosaurs.
Oh my God.
Dinosaurs.
in conjunction with our races, we have a wiener dog race,
I
and I'm
love
telling
it.
you, 4,000 people came the first time we hosted it. It's a huge
Shocking,
event.
but
Yeah.
so cool, right?
Yeah.
So for anybody who is watching, what's the best way for them to find out more about what's happening in tourism in Grande Prairie, the region?
The tourism website.
So
the G-
gptourism.ca.
Yes.
Or drop into Senate 2000. There's
Yes,
somebody there
there's
all the
Helen,
time.
or there's Jasmine, or somebody is going to be like
Beautiful gift shop
let me
for
tell
those
you.
unique little items.
some of the coolest trinkets ever. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time, both to Sandy and to Kim and to Paulette. I know that you guys are busy ladies, as we've heard today. And I just really thank you for sharing your stories today, letting us know about the tourism industry and where the opportunities are. And I think tourism is in good hands. I really appreciate that. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Holly. We love this, like
The concept.
getting some women together to talk about the one subject that we're all passionate about is very exciting.
Might have
Yes,
to look
thank
at the
you
whole
so much.
series.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for joining us on our Hyperdrive Beyond the Summit podcast journey. If you've not already subscribed, check us out on YouTube or Spotify. Please do it. It's free. That way you'll have access to all of our previous podcasts, all the new podcasts as they come right off. I've worked in Community Futures world now for 28 years, as I mentioned before. The women and the clients that we serve remind me constantly of what I do and why I do it and why I've done it for so long. These women who've joined me today remind me and reinvigorate me as to the role that we play in our communities. And I look forward to seeing you all again soon. Have a wonderful day.